Jalen Milroe and the Alabama Crimson Tide are going to try to run through one of the toughest, loudest, meanest environments, defensive lines in college football. Saturday, Alabama against Texas A&M. And Jalen Milroe's offense, they rely on the run. Texas A&M, Jimbo Fisher, those guys stop the run. Who's going to win this one? We're going to talk about that when we come back. Bama Tailgate Daily. He's Chad Anderson. I'm Mick Gillispie. Be part of our channel, guys. We want you on the roster is what we want. We're just trying to get some 5-star recruits. We know that that's you. Subscribe, hit the bell so you know when we're live, and share. Tell all your friends about it. You want them to be here for the tailgate party. We're having a good time, and we want you to as well. Well, Jalen Milroe in Alabama, the last couple of games have dominated. You talk about the second half against Ole Miss. You saw what Ole Miss did, Chad, in their back and forth boat race with LSU, but they scored a ton of points. They had 711 some odd yards, right? They didn't do any of that against Alabama, but then it was on the offensive side of the ball that Alabama established the run in the second half of that game. And don't forget about that. And then against Mississippi State Saturday, it was Alabama running the football and relying on the run. It wasn't Chase McClellan that led the team in running. It was actually Jalen Milroe. And then McClellan and Roydell Williams were like battering rams that helped Alabama to almost 200 yards rushing. They're playing Texas A&M. This is going to be the first team that I feel like has the defensive line that could give Alabama fits. So now we got Alabama, their heavy offensive line that's done, I think, really good run blocking against Texas A&M. What do you think?
Yeah, the same. This is going to be the toughest test since the Texas game. And I know Alabama played Ole Miss and what Ole Miss just did, to LSU. But I still think from a matchup perspective, like Ole Miss doesn't like getting punched in the mouth. And I think that's what Alabama did. They got physical with Ole Miss. They got after Jackson Dart. They brought a lot of blitzes, and they were able to get into the backfield and disrupt. Texas A&M welcomes that kind of challenge. They're a little bit more of, hey, we'll get in there and play dirty in the trenches with you. And so I think Texas A&M, while if they played Ole Miss, it'd probably be a coin flip as to who would win. But when I look at how they match up against Alabama, they're physical, and like what you were saying, running the football is going to be a little more challenging. Also, a little of the head space for Alabama, because remember, this is the only game Jalen Milroe started in 2022, and Texas A&M was not good. What were they, 2-3 going into that game last year? They weren't good.
Terrible team.
They had lost to Appalachian State. That one really stands out. And they had lost another game or two, I believe, to Auburn and maybe someone else before they played Alabama. And when Texas A&M played Bama, Chris Stewart had the call. It was perfect. Game over. What the hell? Let's get out of here.
Right.
That was his call, is let's get out of here. And so I think some of the mental piece of it as well, like you went on the road 2 years ago. Bryce Young, Jamison Williams, Crimson Tide lost on the road. Last year, you struggle against what wasn't a very good A&M team at the time in your own backyard. Milroe had fumble issues. He couldn't move the ball up or down the field. A&M showed the ability to move the ball up and down the field.
Right.
And the quarterback this time is Max Johnson, who was able to move the ball a little bit against Alabama as LSU's quarterback when LSU wasn't as good either a few years back, if you remember that, coming off of their national championship season. So there's like different just mind games, if you will, that are kind of like messing with me this week into how it's going to play out. But A&M has been a game that's very, very unsettling, in my opinion, if you're an Alabama fan.
Well, ever since Jimbo went after Nick Saban over the NIL stuff, and really I thought was ridiculous in some of the things that he said about Nick Saban and not being a football god, and implying that Nick Saban was a big cheater and all that stuff. And I know since then cooler heads have prevailed and everybody's all right and everything else. But you know what? He was the first assistant to beat Alabama in a game, and this is a game that is I think it could be for the SEC West. I mean, really. I mean, in Texas A&M lost to Miami. Obviously Alabama lost to Texas. Bama's got some issues. I mean, we know that. Jalen Milroe, just sitting in the pocket, gets sacked a lot. He's got to get rid of the football a little quicker. But at the same time, he's such a weapon when he's outside of the pocket running. He's actually done a really good job of at least last game, 10 of 12 passing. So he didn't throw a lot of passes, but they're moving the football. They didn't have to. Maybe this week's a different game, but he's also got this incredible touch on the deep balls. The receivers are making plays. So it's a game where you're trying to win. And I'm just curious to say, the reason I say that is you don't have to throw it 30 times if you don't have to throw it 30 times. But this may be the game where they have to throw it 30 times. Plus, Jake Coker, who's on my podcast with me at Roll Tide Pods, Elephant in the Room, he said it's the loudest place he's ever been. He said so loud that your ears, you can't even hear in there. If someone's like right in front of you, you can't hear them when they're all excited. And this team, I don't want to use, they weren't rattled, but there were some mistakes early in the game against Mississippi State. And then the defense kind of took over, and then the offense did fine after that. You just don't want to start slow and get that crowd into it. And then again, remember the last time we were there, they tore down the goalpost. They ran on the field. So they believe they can beat Alabama.
Well, I can attest to your guy, Jake's statement there, because I was there in 2015 when Coker came in and just, the big shoulder block at the goal line or inside the
He's
5.
A tough guy.
He is, man. And, a lot of people say that won the team over for Coker.
It might have.
It may have. I think they were already falling in love because of the Georgia performance, but the A&M game is when he really showed his toughness and that I'm in here, I'm battling with you guys. But he's right. Like, that place can get loud, really, really loud. We give, the Swamp and Death Valley and some of these other stadiums a lot of credit, which they deserve. But I think A&M kind of flies under the radar when it comes to noise and noise level. For me, it's pretty simple. And this is where I'm just focused on the headspace and the emotions. Not that A&M's some huge rival or anything, but Alabama's been rattled against A&M the last 2 games. If you go back to 2021 and look at this matchup, Alabama lost the turnover battle. They had a fumble and they had an interception. A&M only had 1 pick. Alabama kind of got themselves in a hole, got behind early, had to battle out of it. Remember, Alabama had closed that gap, and then A&M had the 100-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And that kind of let the air out of the Alabama sideline, got the Kyle Field crowd back into it. And it's those kinds of things, turnovers, special teams. And if you look at last year, Alabama won the game 24-20 in Tuscaloosa. They turned the ball over 4 times, had almost 400 yards of offense, turned the ball over 4 times, still won, but it came down to the final play and Terrion Arnold having to make a play at the pylon. So, to me, that's just, I don't know. It's weird, right? Like, Alabama loves physical matchups, or they pretty much always have, especially under Saban. So to me, it's keep the emotions in check, survive what some people call the shitstorm, which is the first 10 minutes of the game. Right, the crowd's going nuts and it's so loud. But you survive that. Don't dig yourself a hole. Don't turn the football over, and don't give up a big special teams play. And Alabama should win the ball game, but that just hasn't happened against this team in the last couple of matchups.
Well, the other thing that kind of concerns me is Vegas, and this has a very, very short line right now.
Still 4?
I'm checking at this exact moment because I think it might be under 4 at this point. So, that's one of those things that kind of makes you think, this Texas A&M team did lose to Miami, but that doesn't look like such a bad loss. It's actually 2.5 right now. So the line's moving as we speak towards the home team, the home dog, Texas A&M. And when Vegas does that, then obviously they're looking at this Texas A&M defensive line, and they are probably saying they're going to beat Alabama. They're going to hold Jalen Milroe in the pocket. He's not going to be able to throw, and they're going to win the football game.
Yeah, the line opened. I'm looking at scoresandodds.com here. And the line opened up at because they use FanDuel, but 7.5 in favor of Alabama.
Going the
And
wrong way.
you got to remember though that 7.5 is like the Sunday morning line, and then sharps like rush into the Vegas spot or online, and they place their wagers, and the line moves drastically all the time on a Sunday.
Right.
You see it kind of even out throughout the week, and you'll have some movement. But I saw it at 4. Now it's 2.5. I don't have this information. I'd be interested to see if the money is on one side or the other, because sometimes you have what's called reverse line movement. So money could be coming in on Alabama, and Vegas love A&M so much that they drop the line even more and let more money come in on Alabama or entice you to bet Alabama.
Yeah.
I've seen that in the past. Happens here and there, but yeah, definitely not a lot of people, just because of the last 2 games. People still aren't buying Bama and what they've performed based on the Texas game and Milroe and South Florida. But I want to ask you real quick before we wrap up here is which is it? Which is the right answer? Is LSU's defense that bad after giving up 55 to Ole Miss? Or is Alabama's defense that good in holding Ole Miss to only 10? Because that's 2 ends of the spectrum.
Right. Look, Alabama's secondary right now is elite. It's super elite in that secondary. They don't even want to throw to Kool-Aid. You know, the other guys are being pressured. Malachi Moore's been just amazing, both sides, whether he's defending the pass or the run. Dallas Turner and the boys are getting into the backfield. They're doing it on a consistent basis. If the offense just plays smart, like they did last game, try to run the ball, short passes. If the deep ball's there, hit it. The pass blocking hasn't been good. Obviously, Seth McLaughlin's got to figure out how to snap the ball every single time perfectly. That's a big problem for this team, and it's making it tougher on Jalen Milroe. But with all of that said, this is more of an 09 team where look, let the defense do the defense things. It's a game. Let's play to win. We don't need to get all the style stuff going. Let's just be smart. If it's there, we'll take it. If not, Alabama's got the best kicker. They've got a great punter. And their kicking has helped out too. You just want to make sure that you're forcing them to go down the field, because this team forces turnovers, something that they didn't do last year.
Yep.
And if they get ahead and we start running the ball in the third and fourth quarter, this defense for Texas A&M is going to look like Swiss cheese. That's Alabama's formula to win, but it's going to be close early on unless Texas A&M makes some mistakes, and that's what happened against Mississippi State, is that they ran the ball in Alabama a little bit. That wasn't really the way that they prepared for the game. Obviously, they'll be looking for the run more this week than last week, but Alabama's defense is going to force turnovers when they know you're going to throw it. So I think it's that Alabama's defense is that good. And I think that's the formula for success. Chad, you love New Life Art. You love Daniel Moore.
Love it.
You have been
around me.
I know, me too. And what I want to tell everyone is right now use the promo code Bama Tailgate, and you get buy one, get one 2024 Daniel Moore Crimson and White calendars. The promo is Bama Tailgate, or you can use my name, Mick Gillispie, as well, newlifeart.com. When you use that promo code, it's supposed to pop that second calendar in there in your basket. But they're great for gifts. You know, you got gifts, the holiday season. No one is not going to like, an Alabama fan's not going to not like a Daniel Moore Crimson and White calendar. I mean, I love those things. They're great at the office, show off all of those championship wins and all the great moments that they put in there every single year. All right, final thoughts, Chad.
It's going to be a battle. I think it does come down to simple, like early 2000s type football, though, in this game. Control the clock, control the line of scrimmage, take care of the football. Fewer amount of mistakes will be the critical piece here. You can't turn the ball over 4 times and win this game like you did last year. So it's fundamental football this week for Alabama. All
right, guys, we want you to be part of the channel, be on our roster. We're looking for some 5-star prospects, some recruits, and it's really easy to do. Like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you know when we're dropping content. And Roll Tide, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.